everyone, I'm Noel,
Hi, I'm Patricia.
Hi, Marel.
I am Luigi.
and we welcome you to Hopeful
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 Writing
Writers
Writers
Studios.
Studios.
We are here to do a review of the latest film that we've watched entitled Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Okay, so we'll start with our non-spoiler review. So for the first few minutes, we'll have a non-spoiler review for all of you there who have not yet watched the film. This would be a good review for you. I think the movie is really good. I really like that we finally have an Asian superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they represented Asians very well. Uh, Shang-Chi is a very relatable character. I think he's one of the most relatable Marvel characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I've seen. He's very funny. I really like it that they portrayed Shang-Chi as very easygoing because usually they portray Asians as very uptight, but Shang-Chi is very easygoing. He sings the karaoke, you know, so it's really nice. I really like the way that they portrayed Shang-Chi. It's a very fun movie. There's so much comedy in it. I really like it. What about you, Patricia?
For me, I really liked the movie since it was really action packed and the story. It was a nice introduction to Shang-Chi. And I liked how the movie was a balance of everything. It was funny. The fight scenes were really nice. And then you can also see the interrelated interrelated stories in the whole cinematic universe. How we saw Wong and everything. Well, we can go to that later. We'll dive into that later. But I also love how we saw a glimpse of the life after the whole blip and how people went on with their lives after the whole thing with Thanos. So it was really interesting for me. And like what Noel said, it was really relatable since, well, aside from Shang-Chi being the first Asian superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I mean, having his own standalone film, um, it showed how some of the Asia, it showcased how Asians are, well, our love for karaoke, I think, is also one of that. How we're really familial in nature. We're really close with our family. I think most Asian countries share that trait. And how the whole story was basically about Shang-Chi getting back to his roots. So that's it for me, for my initial reaction for the whole storyline of Shang-Chi. So I really liked it overall. What about you, Marel?
I also liked Shang-Chi. It's a new character. I mean, um, I like the fight scenes also, the yin yang, the balance thing, the concept. It's nice. It's really nice. So overall, I really like the movie. I agree with Patricia. It showcased several Asian cultures, Asian values. Um, I like how the movie came out. It was funny. It was light. It was kind of deep in some areas, but overall, it's funny. It's light, and I enjoyed it very much. And it's a nice introduction for an Asian superhero character like Shang-Chi. How about you, Luigi?
Um, it's actually better than I thought it would be. It's really fun. When I first saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna skip this. But after seeing it, oof, I was super wrong. It's really fun actually. Though a little, well, obviously it's created by an American company, but I can it's it's still really it's really Americanized, but an Americanized like version of Chinese culture, but I think it's serviceable and arguably even better than the last Americanized depiction of Chinese culture in Mulan. So it was it was every it it defied all my personal expectations. Because initially I was very hesitant to watch it. Because firstly, the way it was marketed as like this super important movie showcasing Asian culture. Uh, at first I thought it looked kind of basic, so I was wondering why it was deemed like important. But well, it's because I've seen a lot of martial arts movies over the years. But when I've seen it, it's really, really fun. It's not basic as I thought it was. It really, I was really, I was really proven wrong by this movie. The characters are really likable, and the fight scenes, mwah. Think, in my opinion, Marvel is strongly lacking in that department, especially since they tend to just depend on CGI to make fight scenes. Hello, Black Panther. Uh, but yeah, the action scenes feel real. The characters. Regarding Aquafina, I've seen her in some movies, and sometimes the scripts she's given make her appear annoying. But in this one, she's really good. She's funny, but she doesn't get annoying. She doesn't We don't get too much of that it starts to become irritating. So yeah, it's if you have any negative like uh if you have negative prejudice, if you have any negative like views before watching the movie, know that they will all be uh you'll be proven wrong right away, because it's Shang-Chi is arguably one of the better films in Marvel. And the humor in general is really good. So yeah, if you people would definitely have fun seeing this movie. It's really different than it's different, yet at the same time similar to its predecessors. Pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right. So it seems that all of us really enjoyed Shang-Chi. Now we'll go into the spoiler alert. Now we'll go into the spoiler-filled review. So let's now talk about the specific storyline of Shang-Chi. So what are our thoughts about the story? So I think it's a really good story. I like the plot of the whole movie, where Shang-Chi is trying to rediscover his roots, and he had to go back to Macau, to Asia, because he is now being hunted for his amulet. And then he got reconnected with his dad, who's trying to open up this portal, which would, in the belief of Shang-Chi's dad, he believes that the portal would free his dead wife. But that's not the case. He would be freeing a demon. He would be freeing a monster. Where I like the part of the story where it showed that they all settled down as a family, but then something bad happened, and then when Wu became a bad guy because his wife was murdered, so he had to reorganize the organization of the Ten Rings organization. So he had to revive that, and I think he's the real Mandarin that's being portrayed in the comic books, because in the comic books Mandarin is supposed to be Asian. The fight scenes were really amazing. I love the scene where they were fighting in Macau, in the bamboo structure in the building. And then there was this scene where Shang-Chi was fighting the bad guys, and the background was the city lights in Macau. So that the fight scenes were really good. So I really like the plot of the story. I like the ending where they were forced to unite the forces of the dad had to unite with Shang-Chi. It's only lacking for me in that I think Katie's character was underused. I think they used Katie's character as a laugh relief, like she was the comedy relief of the whole movie. So the movie, she made really good jokes. There were very funny moments with her, and I really loved them. But some were off character. Like there was a part where Shang-Chi was had a fight in Macau, and then after his fight, uh, Katie said, I won a lot of money because I bet on the other guy." So that's very funny, but it was out of character because her best friend is supposed to be Shang-Chi, so she would never, bet on the other guy. And also, it I feel that her character was um was being made into a sidekick of Shang-Chi and not a love interest. Like she was clearly in the friend zone of Shang-Chi. So I felt that her characters was very much underused, underutilized, and it missed an opportunity. Katie's character could have been an opportunity to be a good representation for Asian women, but I just think they missed that opportunity by making her the comedy relief. And she could have been a leading lady of Shang-Chi, or she could have done a lot more, rather than just being a sidekick or a comedy relief.
Well, for me, I really liked this movie. Um, it was a good mix of it being funny and action packed, with a good storyline. So they developed that really well. For me, I like how we saw Shang-Chi just, living his life out of the whole magical universe and the very complicated Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we saw how he got dragged into it in an instant in the bus fight. How it was revealed that, okay, so Shang-Chi would be a major character now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really like one of the best fight scenes for me in that movie was the bus fight. It was really nice because um, I liked how it just happened so naturally, and we can see how Katie was so shocked about the whole he know he's no, he she's known this guy for so long, and then out of nowhere he's someone else. So it was also a nice like plot twist for Katie's character. And I also liked how the friendship of Shang-Chi and Katie. Well, for me, I think Katie was really an interesting character, and how it showed how a guy and a girl could be like, have a wholesome friendship, and how they could go on adventures without actually diving into the whole romantic scene and everything. So for me, I think Katie was a good character, um, and I hope to see more of her in the next movies of the MCU. And I also like uh, the fight scene in Talo, uh, the whole dragon, fight scene, the fighting of the monster and the guardian dragon. It was really interesting, and I also like the character of Jiang Nan, the aunt of Shang-Chi. She was really good at fighting, and she just had this motherly vibe, but also this really strong aura emanating from her, which I really like. And so yeah. Also, I also like the sister. This movie really has a lot of likable characters. So I also like Shang-Chi's sister, Shaling. Um, we saw how she ran this whole fight club bus. What's this called? The Golden Daggers Club. The Golden Daggers Club, and we saw how Wong was there fighting fighting with Abomination. It was really funny. It was a nice surprise, and I also like that scene. Oh yes, I almost forgot. I also like that scene because we also saw a Black Widow fighting fighting another character. Not so sure about the other character, but I saw another Black Widow fighting with someone in that whole um what do you call this, Golden Daggers club scene. It was really interesting. I like that bit too. So yeah. What about you, Marel?
I like the whole movie. I like how they blended the myth part, the folklore part with reality. I know Asian culture is very rich with several myths, folklores, and everything. So I like how um I like how Shang-Chi was introduced. His his origins, his family, his friends, his Asian life, and I like the comeback or the cameo of the other characters from the MCU film. We have Wang, we have Abomination, we have, of course, we have uh, Captain Marvel on the last part, and the Incredible Hulk, but he has no powers. I specifically like the appearance of Trevor, how he's just an actor for that whole Mandarin character we've known in the other films, other MCU films. So also I like the I like the visual effects. I like the visual effects and the meanings behind that, and how it is related to the story and maybe the upcoming stories after Shang-Chi. And that's all. I think let's move on to Luigi. What do you think about the storyline?
Regarding Marvel, it's a heavily science fiction based like movie universe. So much so that even supposedly mystical characters like Doctor Strange suddenly dove into the realm of sci-fi, since the way his powers are presented, they seem very sci-fi and very akin to Green Lanterns from DC. So it's very science fiction, and even the mystical parts like Asgard and Doctor Strange, they don't really feel mystical or magical to me. But with Shang-Chi, they really managed to incorporate that much needed sense of magic and mysticism into the world by introducing us to because in Doctor Strange they just explain everything through the multiverse. And well, Shang-Chi, I really like Shang-Chi because they actually fought like supernatural beings from various planes of realities, and it's presented in a way that's very magical. So that's very excellent for me. And then the next, just like what Marel and Pat have said, or Patricia have said earlier, I really like the connections with the Marvel universe. And the great thing about it is that they seem very natural to appear in the movie, and they don't feel too like they don't feel very heavily they don't factor in too seriously, which is good because it might get away from the highlight of Shang-Chi's character. So I'm really good. I'm really happy that it has continuity, but it's using it sparingly.
All right. Next, we'll talk about our favorite characters in the Shang-Chi film. So, who are your favorite characters in the Shang-Chi film? So, let's start with Patricia.
Oh well, for me, one of there are a lot of likable characters in this movie. So I think one of my favorite characters would be Jiang Nan, the aunt of Shang-Chi and Shaling, their mom's sister in this movie. Um, we first saw her when Shang-Chi and Shaling and Katie went to see the village to warn them about their father's plan. So we first saw her. At first, I didn't know what to expect of her. I thought um, she could be, she was kind of suspicious at first. I thought she could turn out to be a villain or so. It was really good because I didn't know if she was going to be a villain or a good character in this movie. But as it turns out, she really had a good intention of protecting her whole village. So I liked how she taught Shang-Chi with everything, the fighting styles, and while they were practicing, I really liked how that scene was choreographed. It was really nice to watch. And then um, I also like how Katie progressed from not knowing anything about the life of Shang-Chi to um, getting accustomed to um, her whole archery thing. She became an archer while she was in the village. So and played a major role in the battle scene when she shot the arrow through the monster's throat. So it was an interesting. She was an interesting character, and I also like uh the chicken pig Morris the pet. It was at first I was like what is Morris, and then uh Katie called her the chicken pig, so I just assumed that Morris is a chicken pig, and eventually Morris grew to be so likable since Morris led the whole group to the village. So it was really nice. Marel, who's your favorite character in this movie?
I have two favorite characters in this movie. I like Shaling and Katie. Actually, I'm very fond of Katie in this movie because she's very relatable. She's unlike other, what you say, girls in movies without powers. Um, she's she's very cool, she's very funny, she's very witty, and you can see the transition from someone who looks very lost and then later on finding a way to blend in. And she's a very essential character, especially on the last part on the fight scene where she's the one uh who pierced the dragon's neck. And also Shaling, I like Shaling. She's very strong. She's very um what do you she's capable, she's smart, she's a fighter, she's a female fighter. Like I like her more than Shang-Chi, actually. And yes, how about you, Luigi? Who's your favorite character in the movie?
Well, I really like Shang-Chi because usually most martial artist characters are super, they're either super confident uh, or really quiet. That's what I've seen most of the time, especially when you compare them to other martial artists in most superhero movies. I like the reason I like Shang-Chi is because he's actually, when you see him, he's just like a normal person, regardless of your race. I think he's you'd be able to relate to him, especially well, if you're just trying to live out your everyday life. So I think that's really nice, and it's that sense of relatability that I think is lacking in Marvel. Even if even with especially with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which is supposed to be the most relatable hero in Marvel Spider-Man, but thanks to the Tony Stark billions, he's not anymore. So I'm glad that someone manages to fill that role now, thanks to Shang-Chi.
I also agree with Luigi. Shang-Chi is a very relatable character. I think he's for just like Luigi. I think he's even more relatable than Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So yeah, I really like Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi in the comics is a very serious person. I like it that they made him funny and they made him very down to earth and a very relatable character. I like the villain. I like Wen Wu because they didn't portray him to be a super evil person. He had his motives. He was out for revenge. That's why he recreated uh the Ten Rings organization. Another favorite character of mine was the dragon. The dragon was really cool. It came out from the ocean. I wasn't expecting that. So it was a really cute character. It was a very powerful character, and I like the way they rode the dragon. Both Shang-Chi and his sister when they rode the dragon. So that was really cool. I really like the dragon. Now we'll go into the technical aspects of the film, like special effects and locations. So I really like the location shots in this movie. So I wasn't expecting that there would be suddenly be a magical kingdom like Talao that would have magical creatures. So it reminded me of Narnia. So that was really cool. That was really unexpected for me. The special effects were really good. The final fight scene was the best
For
when
me, I also liked how there were mythical creatures. I like the animation of the characters before they actually went to the village. And we saw different mythical creatures. It was really something, I think something new for the MCU, since this is the first time we saw like actual mythical creatures and stuff like that. I also like I don't know, there's something about the color of this movie. It's so pleasing to the eyes. I really like that bit. I'm not really sure about, the specifics of the whole color grading of movies, but for me personally, I really like how it turned out. And also I agree with Noel about the effects. It was really nice. The whole battle scenes were the battle scenes were really laid out really well, with all the dragons and the portal, and basically just the fighting scenes. They were really good. And I liked how you can see the difference from the colors in the Golden Daggers Club, how it was kind of dark and all that. But when they went to the village of their mom, it was all bright and colorful, which kind of shows the transition from the siblings being in the dark about their whole past to how they transition to being um, introduced to how their mother lived before. So that's uh, that's how it is for me on the technical stuff of the movie. Marielle, what do you think about the cinematography and the other technical stuff of Shang-Chi?
Um, I like the visual effects, the sound effects, the colors, everything. It's really good. I also noticed several designs, several scenes wherein there's kind of deeper meaning to it. For example, the stadium or arena where um Wang and I mean Shang-Chi and his sister fought. uh notice the shape of the stadium is shaped like a giant bagua in Chinese. It's symbolizes 8 trigrams, and it symbolizes feng shui and the yin yang in Chinese. They use this to harmonize themselves with the environment, and that's really good because the movie Shang-Chi is like all about the people and the environment, how they should be balanced in every way to to be har- to be harmonious. You know, like the father and mother of Shang-Chi, how they become like black and the white of the yin yang. Notice the effects, the air, the water scene where the map, where they saw the map for the first time. It's really cool. And also, um when it comes to the sound effects, did you notice also when when they fought in the village, the sound effects of the first fight is not really, exciting or upbeat. So I was thinking that this is not yet the real fight, even though it was portrayed like it will be a war. We have the black for the for Shang-Chi's dad's men, and the red for the villagers. That was really good. But the big fight would be the second one where the dragon came out of the water. So that's really cool. I think that was intentional, the sound effects there. And the the rings, I like the effect of the rings. So cool, because I thought at first, reading the title, The Legend of the Ten Rings. So how can you fit all those rings? So I thought it will fit on the fingers, but they use it on the arms. So it's cool. It's really cool how the rings changes color every time, to symbolize bad and good energy, like that. So overall, it's really good. It's pleasing to the eyes. So how about you, Luigi? What are your thoughts on the technical effects and the aspects of the film?
Regarding the technical aspects of the film, it solves a lot of my personal gripes with Marvel movies. Firstly, the color grading is really really good. It especially with this one, it really needs that sense of mysticism. So they've really done the color grading well for the movie. And then meanwhile, the fight scenes, well, I'm really really happy with the fight scenes, even if though some of them are very CGI heavy, but the way they've managed to make the perfect marriage and balance both out, it's really good. There's a lot to like about like a lot there's a lot to see and like about Shang-Chi.
Okay, it seems that we all really enjoyed the special effects, visual effects of Shang-Chi. Never, it seems Marel knows a lot about Chinese culture. So you said, Marel, that a lot of the things that we saw in the movie had a relation to Chinese culture.
Yes, yes. Yes, I've encountered many Chinese people, and there's a lot like, um especially in the first part, the Katie's parents, their family, you notice that they're moving on. That's an American concept. And the the grandmother telling Shang-Chi that you should not sit there, that's my son's seat. So it's very Asian. You can see a lot of the culture of the Chinese people. They really value their culture. There's this boundary between the Western culture and the Chinese culture. So I like how it blended well in Shang-Chi, with no negative intentions of portraying Chinese as something negative, something really strict. So it's really good. Yeah. So
Okay, all right. So, okay, so here's a more like a direct question. So one of the issues surrounding Shang-Chi is that some Asians are saying that it does not, the Shang-Chi movie does not represent Asian culture or Chinese culture in a good way. Do you think Shang-Chi is a good represent makes a good representation of Asian culture and Chinese culture?
Um, I think yes, it represented the Chinese culture in a good way. They have shortcomings in some areas, of course, but overall, if you're watching it as a Westerner or um, not really not really from Asian countries, you don't really know much about the Asian culture. It's a nice introduction of presenting, oh, this is Asian. This is something Asian. We can call Asian, you know. Also it's it's really good compared to the other movies that showcases Chinese culture. I mean, Shang-Chi is not really totally Chinese culture. It's a collection of Asian cultures in a way, but mostly Chinese from Chinese culture. So yes, it's nice representation of the Chinese culture. Yes. How about you, Patricia?
Well, for me, I personally cannot speak for the Chinese since I'm not that familiar with their culture and how they are in their practices. But with when it comes to the Asian, common Asian, I think there are parts that are relatable. There are some parts that um, some other Asians who are not Chinese could still relate to, like how it was centered on family and its strong discussion about familial ties like that. So I think when it comes to the other Asian culture context, I think a nice it's a nice I can say representation. It's a nice showcase of something that you could relate to, but not necessarily like a solid representation, since of course it was also made by in America. Maybe it was an American perspective or an Asian American perspective, but I think overall it was a good movie for me. Luigi, what are your thoughts about this?
My thoughts regarding the culture, like you, Pat, I'm not very familiar with the Chinese culture. But what I've noticed is that, as I've mentioned earlier, it's a lot, it's really Americanized. Like, it's an American's interpretation of what Asian slash Chinese culture is. Does it deserve the backlash? Not really. Because well, like Thanos, it's inevitable that it's gonna be Americanized because firstly, it's made by Marvel, and then second, Shang-Chi is Asian American. He grew up in America, so it's you can expect a lot of American personality traits in the character. So it actually makes sense that it's very Americanized, that at the same time Asian. Yeah. So I don't think it deserves the backlash it got for being not accurate, because come on, let's face it, it's not never gonna be 100% accurate because it's an adaptation. It's an adaptation of uh, certain mythologies.
So for me, I also think that Chang-Chi portrayed and presented Asian culture and Chinese culture in a good way. I'm not, also not familiar with Chinese culture, but I think it presented Chinese culture in a very respectable way. There was nothing offensive that I saw in the portrayal of Chinese culture and Asian culture. And I think it was good that they introduced worldwide the worldwide audience to Chinese culture. Some of the things that Marel said, like the yin yang, things like that, and then they represented the worldwide audience to the Asian culture of family values. They presented the in some aspects of Chinese culture, like the dragon, the importance of the dragon, the Chinese mythology. So I think they presented it all in a very respectful way. I really like the way they presented Asian culture and Chinese culture, but there's a little room for improvement, I think. Like maybe maybe they could have, but I understand it's an American film, so they didn't focus too much on presenting Asian culture, but they could have done a little more. That, like, during the last scene, after the scene in Talao, after they defeated the monster, they immediately went home to the United States, and then they met with Wong, and then they sang with Wong in a karaoke bar, which was really fun. So maybe they could have done that in Macau or Shanghai. Maybe they could have, before Shang-Chi and Katie went home to the US, maybe they could have gone to some parts of uh, China or Asia. So China, or presented some aspects of Asian culture. So for a Marvel film with the first ever Asian superhero, with a lot of Asian culture in it. So I think it was a really good presentation of Asian culture. What sure are your final thoughts about the movie, and what grade would you give it out of 100? So let's start with Patricia.
For me, I think I'll give it a 90, 95. It was a good movie for me. I really liked it. Um, I liked how it had its what do you call this, Easter eggs, and it was really fun to watch, and look out for those not really random, but characters that you didn't expect that would come out in the movie, to watch out for. And the whole storyline was laid out really well with its fight scenes, and I just loved the overall vibe of the movie. It was really light, um, but really good with all of the action scenes in it. And I liked how Shang-Chi was also really good martial artist, and the actor who played it is also a stuntman before he got this role. So it was really, I think it added a nice touch to the role, since he really knows what he's doing, and uh, I think it's really a nice touch on the character of Shang-Chi. So, Marielle?
For me, I would rate it as 99 over 100. It's high because I really like it. It's light, and they introduced. I like how they introduced several mythical creatures when they visited the land of Talo. Um, those creatures we're not very familiar with those creatures. I think we're really familiar with Greek mythical creatures, but seeing Asian creatures, seeing Morris, seeing the nine-tailed fox, that's really good. So I really like that effects. And the remaining 1 point goes to the part wherein they could have added more scenes after the fight. How they would interact with the village later on after defeating the evil creature. um so yeah, that's all. So how about you, Luigi?
Um, It's fast, it's fun, it's really colorful. I'm giving it a solid 95. There's a lot
Okay.
to like about this movie, and again, as I've mentioned earlier, you have if you have any hesitations about watching Shang-Chi, I think it deserves a chance. It deserves a chance to be watched.
Oh, for me, I'm giving it a grade of 94. I really like it. I like the fantasy of it. I like the Asian culture that was presented in it. I like And our final score for the movie Shang-Chi is 95.75. So fresh rating of 95.75. We really enjoyed this film, and we hope you can all we hope you can all watch it and enjoy it. So thank you again for watching our review of Shang-Chi. We hope that you can like and subscribe to our Hopeful Writer Studios YouTube channel for more videos to come. It's down there.
Um, Also, click your notification bell to be notified for any new videos posted by Hopeful Writer Studios. There will be more videos to come in this December video series, so I hope you could watch out for that. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you everyone for watching our review of Shang-Chi, and see you next time. Stay hopeful.
Stay hopeful. Bye. Thank you.